All right. Eric Lopez here, along with Victor Anderson, back here on In the Circle of D1 Softball. We're going to talk a little bit of the D1 Softball Quarter Century list of the Power Four head coaches, which was released a week ago, Victor. And boy, this was a who's list. Of course, Heather Tarr, who's on Monday's episode, as many are listening on this podcast or know that. Man, what jumps out to you when you see this list?
Well, a lot of people were going goo goo gaga about who was admitted. So let me remind everybody the requirements from the committee in regards to the list. Head coaches only, for at least 10 years of service in an applicable role. This third bullet point is important, ladies and gentlemen. Selected for their on-field work alone. A lot of y'all, based on your messages, missed that bullet point. So allow me to remind you once again.
On the field.
On-field work only. And anything before 2000, not on the table. So to be perfectly honest with you, Eric.
Now, for those that are listening on the podcast, you could go to d1softball.com, look it up, grab the list, and you could follow with us if you're listening. If you're those of you that are watching on the video, we'll be able to see the list.
The list is in the description field if you're watching this on our Inner Circle YouTube page. So follow along, ladies and gentlemen, as we go through the list. And again, this list is in alphabetical order, so please be mindful of that.
That's correct. All right, so with that in mind, Vic, give us some names there that stood out to you.
So, of course, we got Beth Torino with LSU, Yvette Girard, who she took over for at LSU, Carol Hutchins, Coach Hutch, enough said, Clint Myers, his time of Arizona State and Auburn, again, on the field, Connie Clark with Texas, her successful Mike White, recently won a national championship, Courtney Deifel, the absolute turnaround. She turned with that Arkansas program. Diane Niemeyer taking Cal to the national championship in 2002. Aaron Earlywine with Mizzou, 3 Women's College World Series berths, again, on the field issues only, ladies and gentlemen. Glenn Moore.
He's now the assistant at Texas, which is kind of interesting.
Now the assistant at Texas, yes. Glenn Moore, people forget, he started a decade at LSU and then took the Baylor program to national prominence. Of course, you heard our guest Heather Tarr with Washington. Jessica Allister making impact at both Minnesota and her alma mater at Stanford. Joe Evans at Texas A&M. John Rittman with Stanford and the work he's doing at Clemson. Kate Drohan at Northwestern. Kelly Inouye Perez at UCLA. Kenneth Gajewski, Oklahoma State. Nali Alameda with Florida State. And of course, again, taking the time at Florida State. Also did a great job at UNLV as well. Lou Harris Champer at Georgia. Mike Candrea. Duh. Patrick Murphy. Duh. Patty Gasso. Duh. Ralph and Karen Weekly at Tennessee. Sue Enquist, who led the Bruin program before Inouye Perez took over. And, of course, Tim Walton, who had number one of his players, Lauren Hager, being inducted into the Florida Athletics Hall of Fame and was Mr. Two Bits in their game Saturday versus Mississippi State. And by the way, Mr. Lopez is muted. For those of you who are watching us on YouTube, this is a problem we have with Eric sometimes where he makes a great point, but he forgets to unmute his mic, so he doesn't get to take the point to us.
There's also a lot of noise from time to time at the household, so it is what it is. Kenny Gajewski was at the this weekend as well for that event. He was the assistant at Florida when Lauren Hager. So it's kind of, again, some connections within this list.
Yes.
Anybody you would have in instead?
I have no problems with this list. There were a couple people who said Rachel Lawson at Kentucky.
I consider Rachel Lawson. I think I had her. I think she was I know she was brought up. If I had to bet, I would probably say she was probably 26, 27, if I had to guess without knowing everybody's vote. But I know she was brought up.
I mean, outside of Rachel Lawson,
Trisha Ford, I know others have brought. Trisha Ford only's not coached 10 years at a power conference. Hers was more divided with Fresno State the time there, and then Arizona State A&M, but didn't have the 10 full years, I think, in the power level of conference.
In the power conference, she didn't meet the requirements. I think that would have been a
stronger, could have maybe snuck in there. And then Rhonda Ravel's another one that's brought up. That was a tough one. But if you look at this century only, Connie Clark, more World Series. I think you're talking regional wins, things like that. I think that's what kept maybe Rhonda off a little bit, but you certainly could have made a case for her. I think those are probably the three that you would probably say, hey,
I do want to bring up, there's a name I do want to bring up, though. What about Jamie Traxel? Did she have enough years between Minnesota and Ole Miss?
No, not enough. Exactly. That would have been strengthened their deal. So that 10-year thing, that's why I'm glad you brought up the 10 years, because that does make an impact on that part. So listen, it's a strong list. Pretty cool. I don't have an issue with it. I know some people are saying, Courtney Deifel didn't get it to a World Series or whatever, but look at what she did with Arkansas. Arkansas was a bottom program, bottom of the SEC, and it's turning into a powerhouse where it's a program that is a perennial. Think about it. She was the one that ended the streak of the SEC, of Florida, Alabama SEC regular season championships. It was in Arkansas, and they did it back to back. You were there in person in 2022, as a matter of fact, when they won the SEC tournament title in Gainesville. So that job, I understand why. I have no issues with her on the list because of the job that she's turning that program around. And that's the thing, too. You could be a great head coach and not necessarily make the World Series. And I think it's only a matter of time with her. It's not like she's in the back end of her career. So that's why I know some people brought that up. Beth Torina, 4 World Series speaks for itself. So again, I think the 3, Rachel Lawson, Ronda Revelle probably have the best the cases there at 26, 27. Could I see a path there? Sure. Absolutely. Of course you can make a case, but I think that's, again, Trisha Ford, and you brought up Traxel, just didn't have the 10-year Neil. So that was kind of significant on that number. So I think that's a pretty simple deal. Let's go ahead, Vic, and go right into our draft for this, because and then we'll talk about some of the coaches that we pick and what they've done, and then we'll go from there and then get scrutinized for the ones we didn't pick.
Well, of course, with the Victor A list, that means Eric and I had to pick 5 head coaches to be on our rosters. And of course, once we're done with selecting all of the quarter century lists for all of the categories, we will post them on our social media pages and allow you to decide who had the better A list. Now, since Mr. Lopez had first pick on our last list, which was the non-Power 4 hitters, I will take the first pick with the Power 4 head coaches. And honestly, Eric, I think we know, regardless of who was going to get the number 1 pick, who's going to go first. I'll take Patty Gasso. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think we need much time thinking about that one, right? Like,
nope.
That's a way to go bold.
What's understood doesn't need to be explained.
Yeah, the national champ, all her national championships this quarter century, pretty remarkable. Would be the number 1 ranked coach, right? This century. If we did a ranking,
without question,
probably be number 1. I will go then. So I have the 2nd and 3rd pick then.
Yes, you do.
For those that are new to this, and I'm going to pick who I think could arguably be number 2 and number 3 if we did a rankings on this. I know some might disagree on this, but I don't. I in my opinion, my first pick, I'm going to go Mike Candrea. 3. What? How many? The 3. The man, even he didn't coach the entire quarter century, was still successful. From a World Series appearances standpoint, conference championship standpoint, the national championship standpoint. By the way, I believe 12 head coaches on this list won a national title on this list. Mike Candrea, I believe, won 3 of them.
Won 3 national championships, including going back-to-back in 2006 and 2007. Made 11 Women's College World Series during his tenure.
All right, so that's understandable. So I think he's the second one, which is fitting because as we talk, Mike Candrea and Patty Gasso are both tied all time with 8 national titles in the history of the sport. My second pick, but third pick overall, is going to be with Tim Walton, Florida. 2 national championships at Florida. First head coach out of the SEC to win the national title, bring that elusive national title. Well, actually, it was Murphy, but he won the first to win multiple national titles in the SEC, is my point. Great Gator teams there. To me, he's the third best head coach this quarter century. Somebody argue him versus Kendrea, whatever. I think Tim would be the first to tell you, put Mike on the list, number 2. That's a guy that has helped them in the industry. But to me, Tim Walton, at worst, if we did a rankings of this, he would be third. I don't see him any lower than third. I'm sorry. It's in my opinion.
And let's remember, he's played for multiple national championships as well as winning the 2 he won.
That was kind of why I was throwing off. Think about 2009, you run into Danielle Laurie in Washington. 2011, they run into the buzzsaw at Arizona State. That's why I was thinking about the first, because they were playing for the national championships. I mean, if they execute a bunt in the 2008 semifinal against A&M, they're playing for the national title in that year. That's how close they were many a times. And think about 2017, losing to Oklahoma. If that 17-inning game goes differently, maybe Florida wins the national title. So he's won 2. Could have easily maybe have won 3 or 4 if things break a certain way. So again, Tim is just got into the Hall of Fame in the NFCA a year ago. And spoiler, we're gonna have another good team this upcoming year. You know you're good too when people are disappointed that you only made it to the World Series. That's all. That's a bar. But anyway, that's my pick. You're up.
Those are the expectations. Well, Eric, you kind of let the name slip. So thank you very much. I'll pick the man who was the first coach in the SEC to win a national championship. I will go with Patrick Murphy. And with Patrick Murphy, Bama fans are disappointed when they don't make it to the World Series. And there are years where Alabama teams were less talented and have made it to Oklahoma City. See the run they made 2 years ago when they beat Tennessee in Knoxville to make it to the World Series. That was not one of the most talented teams Patrick Murphy had, but yet he still found a way to get them to Oklahoma City. So I'll take Patrick Murphy with my second pick. And with my next pick, my third pick, Coach Hutch. First coach to win a national championship in the Midwest, of course, 2005. Samantha Finley beating Michigan to beat UCLA to win a national championship in the first year of the 2 out of 3 Champ Series format. So I'm going to go with Coach Hutch for my next pick. So, Eric, you have 2 picks to go along with Mike Kendrea and Tim Walton.
Well, let's talk about your picks here and give them some their flowers, if you will. The Murph pick, maybe the most underrated stat as I was doing this when I was getting ready to send in my picks. Patrick Murphy's lost 1 regional in his career at Alabama. 1. He's been to the Super Regional every year except 1, which was the year he lost to Stanford with Vaughter and company a couple years ago. Darn good stat.
Yeah.
Great point. First SEC National Championship, 2012, Alabama. Came from behind, beat Oklahoma in the World Series. SEC dominance. By the way, every coach that has won a regular season SEC championship is on this list and on this team. So to take that point, and you're right, they're spoiled over there at Bama Town. We know that. We know that in the fall during the football season. All of a sudden, it's pretty quiet over there about Kalen DeBoer, by the way. Pretty darn good coach himself. All right.
He can coach ball.
Where's the apologies out there? You know who you are, you football people there. And then there's he can coach as well. So that's Mr. Murphy, rightfully so, should have a statue, by the way. Just like the Alabama has a lot of statues over there. Trust me, I've seen it in person with Nick Saban statue and everything like that. Patrick Murphy will have a statue there. And then Hutch, like you said, to win that national title out of the Midwest, first ever, pretty good with Hutch. She is Michigan softball. And and
ironically enough, Eric,
Michigan Hall of Fame.
Yes, and ironically enough, we were there to see Coach Hutch's final game as a head coach in the Atlanta Regional. UCF won and advanced to Super Regionals for the first and only time in their program history. So, Ms. Lopez, now that we have given their flowers to Coach Hutch and Coach Murph, your next 2 picks on the Victor A list, if you would, please. Now, keep in mind, Mr. Lopez, we have a lot of friends on the podcast on this list. So,
good stall for a second there. Tell me how many head coaches. Look at the list while I figure out who I'm picking. How many head coaches on this list have we actually had on the podcast? Victor. You could go
Oh, I
through
can
the
kind of tell
names
you who we haven't had
for a
on the
minute.
podcast. We had not had.
No.
Now, keep
Tell
in
me who
mind,
has.
Diane Niemeyer retired way before our podcast started. We did not have Aaron Earlywine on the podcast. Outside of that, did we have Coach Lou on the podcast? Did we ever have Coach Lou?
Yes, we have. We have.
So, in that being said,
before, yes,
those are the only two head coaches. Actually, there are three head coaches I don't think we've ever had on the podcast. Sue Enquist, we've never had her on.
No, we had Sue. We've had Sue on.
Okay,
Connie
so in that
Clark,
case, only two. So in that case, there are two head coaches on the all quarter century Power Four.
Meyer, four.
We've never had on. We've never had on. We never had Niemeyer. We never had Earlywine. That's
it.
Actually,
no, there's four. It's four. I'm looking at it now. Clint Myers, we never had on.
Oh, never had Clint. Okay, sorry.
And Earlywine, like you said, we've not had on. So that's the four. That's still pretty
good. Who's the four?
Earlywine, Myers,
right?
Niemeyer, and the one you mentioned,
Enquist. You said we had her on.
No, we did have her on. So 22 out of 25. Then. Niemeyer, Earlywine, Myers. As I look at this real quick, 22 out of 25. Pretty good high percentage.
Pretty good.
All right, I've stalled enough.
Stop stalling, sir. Make your picks.
Ugh, doesn't mean I'm ready for my picks, but I'll take it anyway. I'm gonna go Kelly Inouye Perez, UCLA. 2 national titles at UCLA, the dynasty there, the Bruin bubble. With respect to Sue Enquist, Kelly's done it for a long, long time in an era with more parity than ever before. So I will go Kelly Inouye Perez. Probably good value here, honestly. You can make a case she should have gotten drafted earlier. But I will take her next. And then do I pick again?
Yes, you do.
Normally I'd be happy about that, but on a list like this, not necessarily. You saw how long it took me to figure this out. You know what I'm going to take? The person I just talked to, Heather Tarr. Hello. Look at what she's done in Washington. She's made the tournament every year, 22 seasons, won a national title at Washington. I'm going to go Heather Tarr.
Fair enough. I was also playing for national championships before. Matter of fact, the last time she played for a national championship, she lost to the coach who I'm going to be selecting, Lonnie Alameda. Yeah, think about how we talk about having to replace a legend, and you never want to be the coach to try to replace a legend. All Lonnie Alameda did was replace the great Dr. Joanne Graff and take Florida State to unprecedented heights, including giving the ACC their first ever national championship in softball. And it seems like every even number year, Florida State's going to be in the mix. And I love Coacha. Everyone else loves Coacha. So I'm going to take her for my 4th pick. And that means one more pick I have available to wrap up my team. I got Gasso. I got Murph. Hutch. I got Coacha. Ooh. Wait, I'm not thinking myself here. I'm gonna go John Rittman. Going John Rittman. If for anything else, you look at what John Rittman did, building that Clemson program from scratch, and within a short period of time, has made Clemson one of the top programs in the sport. On top of what he did, taking Stanford to where they were. It was a tough choice. I have a feeling I know where you're gonna go with your last pick, Eric. But John Rittman's my.
Can you tell me then? Because I don't.
Can I give you 3 letters and I'll let you figure it out?
Can we extend this list to like 8? Like my
No.
5. How many picks?
You got one more pick left. But just to recap your roster,
what?
You have Mike Kendrea, Tim Walton, Kelly Inouye Perez, and our guest Heather Tarr. So you got one more pick, sir. Good luck.
What?
Yep. Hey, them is the rules. 5.
5.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild to me. Okay. I'm going to go Mike White. Look at the job he's done at Oregon and Texas this century, Victor. Remember, this century. Mike White, powerhouses at Oregon, to the point where they helped build that Jane Sanders Stadium.
Yep, the Jane Sanders Stadium, yes.
And they had some teams, honestly, they could have, like, I remember the 18 World Series I was at. That Oregon was the number 1 ranked team in the country, could have easily won the national title, just didn't work out for them there. And then look at what happened, what he's done at Texas. Remember, we used to make the thing, we used to play the Joe Tessitore thing.
Texas is back.
Right, and he's done it, and he did it. He brought them that national title. Heck, he's played for multiple.
He's played for 3 of the last 4 national titles.
Yeah. So they're going to be pretty good this year, but not that that matters in this list. But I think that national title, Victor, you have to put, and I understand Mike White has his detractors, whatever. I like the guy. Mike White's one of the greatest head coaches in the history of the sport, period. Yes? I mean,
yes.
And I think we just did this exercise. That's top 10 head coach this century is minimum with him. We probably, honestly, he probably is ranked too low. He probably went too low in this draft. You could make it. I could make a case he should be ahead of some of the other names brought up that were drafted earlier. But he's that good. And
yes.
And trust me, it's painful because there are coaches I would have liked to have taken here. Beth Torina, I think, has done an incredible job at LSU. To me, is the greatest LSU head coach of all time with respect to Yvette Girard. You look at Beth Torina, what she's done at LSU. I would put her ahead of Yvette Girard, and I'm friends with both of them, but I would take Beth. And by the way, Beth Torina would never lose to a Vanderbilt. Just saying.
She would not.
Just saying. Just saying. Like, what are we doing? What's going on over there? I mean, Courtney Deifel, based on what she's built at Arkansas. I think Jessica Allister, who I wanted to pick.
The 3 names I was debating, Eric, for my last pick were Rittman, Torina, Allister. Those are the names I had on my list for that last pick.
Again, from an on-the-field standpoint, Clip Myers has a case here. Like, we probably snubbed him here in this draft with the 2 national titles at Arizona State. And then remember, he built Auburn into being relevancy. Like, Auburn was not relevant in softball.
Remember, it was Auburn who pushed Oklahoma in the World Series.
Correct. To a 3-game series. And listen, I'll admit it. Perhaps, obviously, how things ended probably is clouded my fact of select. You know, it's kind of like the NFL draft, right? Like, there's just certain things that get people to drop in the deal. But he was from an X's and O's, from an on the field, which is
offensively speaking, especially.
He's a great coach as well. But you know, they're all great. I mean, that's the beauty of this list. But Mike White's got to be. That's why I took Mike White. I think Mike White is right. So we'll go ahead and recap the teams again, the picks here.
So to recap our Victor A list for Power 4 head coaches, Mr. Lopez went with Mike Candrea, Tim Walton, Kelly Anyway Perez, Heather Tarr, and Mike White. I went with Patty Gasso, Patrick Murphy, Coach Hutch, Lonnie Alameda, and John Rittman.
Pretty good. And again, you can make a case for a bunch of others on this one. I believe we all, I don't know if this was subconscious or not, Victor. I think we all picked coaches we've had on this show before. So I'm not going to lie. But
Eric, here's the problem. But Eric, here's the thing. As you outlined earlier, there are only 3 head coaches on this list that we have not had on this podcast.
So we've only agitated 12 other head coaches that we've had on this podcast that we didn't pick.
Yeah.
And some of them will be back on this show sooner than
and they're going to hear it from you.
They're going to hear it to me. Yeah,
they're going to hear it from you.
But listen, it's incredible list there. But yeah, I mean that's the story here, folks. With the head coach. Wait until now. Don't worry. When we get to the mid-major head coaching list, that's a little different because I'm not going to lie. Spoiler: words were exchanged on that one during that whole process. I'll leave it as that.
Really?
But that's another time. That is another time. We've run out of time here.
Yes, we have.
Thanks to everybody for tuning in here. We hope you've enjoyed this. As always, keep it on In the Circle for all the latest news softball. We got fall reports on D1 softball. We got great guests coming up. We're breaking down all the big conferences before fall ball is underway. It's been underway and then some, ladies and gentlemen. Incredible crowds. Speaking of Mike White, Texas A&M record crowd in Austin sellout. They had to close things maybe over the weekend, so it's a great time in the softball season. We'll have more great content here on In the Circle for Victor Anderson. I'm Eric Lopez. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of In the Circle on D1 Softball.
Top podcasters out. Good night, Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. Fire Mike McDaniel already, Dolphins.